We are
Mamatrack.
My name is Luann.
I'm Mono. I'm Afra.
And I'm Vincent.
And we're working with a small company called Pelvice to improve the Mama Strut postpartum brace. The Mama Strut is the only pelvic brace specifically designed to alleviate pressure and discomfort while facilitating the healing process for new mothers after giving birth.
As is typical of recovering surgery patients, postpartum women are susceptible to complications including infections, blood clots, postpartum depression, and hemorrhage. Most women in the U.S. are not scheduled for follow-up appointments until 6 weeks after giving birth, and even then, attendance rates to these meetings can be as low as 40%.
In addition, it's apparent that a very small fraction of the total pregnancy cost is spent on preventative postpartum care. Typical pregnancy and birth costs range from $15,000 to over $60,000.
However, only $10 of this amount is spent on products that naturally support postpartum healing process. This reveals a gap in care, only treating women after they have developed an issue, such as an infection, as opposed to supporting women continuously to prevent complications.
We aim to reduce the frequency of emergency hospital visits, thus reducing medical costs and increasing patient wellness for postpartum women.
So now let me show you the sensors. There are multiple sensors in here. There are 4 different pressure sensors to ensure there is enough pressure by the brace. We added a temperature sensor to ensure the body temperature of the patient is within the right range so that we know the patient is not having an infection. We added a heart rate sensor to see if the heart rate is within the right range, and we also added a movement sensor in here to know that if the patient is having any movements or they're lying in bed the whole time, that might be an indicator of being not feeling well or having a postpartum depression.
The user interface begins on the doctor's end. The doctor has to initialize the patient into the system so that they obtain an activation key, which also serves as their login code. The doctor, because they initialize them, also has access to the activation key, enabling them to check the patient's data whenever they want and to check on the status of the patient. So the doctor would enter a patient's last name and just click Save User, and this is their generated activation key. We'll copy this, and the doctor would then send this via email to the patient. Now that the patient has their login information, which has been sent to them by their doctor, they can go to the login screen and enter their last name and their activation key. So we can see from the user interface that there's the patient's last name and the current date that they are visiting the system. We can begin a new session of data collection, and the system says to ensure that your Mama Strut brace has been snugly fit and comfortable, which we do have on me currently. So the system will take a little bit to warm up because we're using Bluetooth transfer to collect the data. So we can now see that the Bluetooth, that the monitor is connected to the device because it's connected, and data collection will begin shortly. So we can see, because I'm wearing the brace, all 4 pressure sensors have met their minimum requirement, and they're all providing the necessary amount of pressure on me, the patient. We can also see that my heart rate is currently about 89 beats per minute, displayed graphically as well as displayed with an indicator. I am not moving right now, I'm just sitting, so I don't have any position data. And temperature is about 29.7 degrees Celsius, which we would expect for this region of external temperature. If I were to move my leg back and forth, then we should see a peak in the position graph, which we do. And now I've stopped moving my leg, so it's going to bottle out again, but then it should, now that I'm moving it again, It's going to change. Cool. So now that we're satisfied with the data that's been collected, we can stop and return to the home screen. And if we want to view some previous sessions, if you didn't really want to collect data right now as a patient or the doctor, you could go here and you can select from the date of different sessions that you've collected. So if we were to collect today's, then we see the data displayed in 3 different graphs. Perhaps if we wanted to look at Monday, we would also see the data that's been collected that day. If I'm the doctor and I want to log in a different patient, then I can return to login and enter a different patient's name. But for now, I'm just going to use the login information I created. And then you can exit the program once you're finished.
Okay.
So we also have an app for this system that we created. So the user would create a new pin the first time they want to use it. And the information would be shown. So the heart rate, the temperature, and also the brace pressure. So we see that the brace pressure is normal, which seems that which shows that everything is at the right place. And then when it shows loose, it means that it's not completely tight, and the user has to try to tighten it up a little bit.
One thing that we're proud of about this project is the ability to send data wirelessly through Bluetooth LE. Through a long process of trial and error, we are able to develop a system to compress and send data from 7 different sensors through Bluetooth so that the user isn't confined with a cable to a computer or some other device. The user should be able to go about their day seamlessly while ensuring they are healthy and in good condition.
This device would allow new moms to do their day-to-day activities while wearing the brace and being informed of their health. It also increased the communication level between the physician and the patient, and it hopes to prevent any further postpartum complications.